Hello and welcome. I hope this story gives you warmth, intense emotions, and that satisfying sense of safety and devotion, even when everything starts in the coldest place. Get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's begin. It grinds between my teeth when I try to breathe, and my breath comes out in ragged little ghosts that vanish before they can become prayers. I claw at the drift with numb fingers, but the powder collapses back into my face as if the mountain itself is trying to bury me politely. My thigh burns where the blade went in. My ribs feel wrong, one of them sharp, maybe cracked. Each inhale a knife that drags along the inside of my chest. Warmth leaks out of me in steady, humiliating pulses, soaking my skirt, turning the white around my hip into a bruised pink that darkens to red. Ahead of me, boots crunch away. Not running, not panicked. A measured retreat like a ceremony. I force my head up. My lashes are wet, frozen at the tips. Through the falling snow, I catch shapes, my pack, my people, my whole life, moving down the slope in a loose line. They don't look back. They don't have to. The rule has already been spoken. Rejection in public is not a sentence. It's permission. My bond is a torn thread inside my chest, still twitching like a nerve. It hurts in a way that isn't physical, which makes it worse because there's no position, no pressure, no breath that can ease it. The place where his presence used to sit, heavy, constant, infuriatingly familiar, is empty, and the emptiness is loud. I taste iron and salt, and something bitter I can't swallow. He stands higher up the slope, just far enough away that the snow softens the edges of him, but not far enough to pretend he isn't watching. Aurelian. Even his name used to feel like warmth. Now it's a hinge slamming shut. He lifts his hand, not to reach for me, not to call anyone back, but to make a final sign over his chest, the pack's gesture for severance. The wolves behind him answer, one by one, heads bowed, shoulders hunched against the wind. They mark me as not ours. My throat tightens around a sound that wants to be a scream. It comes out smaller, uglier, an animal noise, raw and pleading. I hate myself for it. I hate him more. Aurelian's mouth moves. I can't hear the words over the wind, but I don't need to. I know the script as well as any girl raised under a pack law that pretends it's mercy. She's compromised. She's a risk. She brought shame. She's unfit. The worst one, the one that makes them feel righteous. Better the mountain takes her than our enemies. He turns first. That's how I understand, finally, that he is going to let me die. I dig my nails into the crusted snow and pull, inch by inch, trying to drag myself after them. My leg gives a wet, sickening protest, and a wave of darkness swallows the edges of my vision. The bond stutters again, an echo of him that hurts like a phantom limb. It isn't love that reaches for him. It's instinct. It's the old conditioning that says an alpha's presence means survival. Even when that alpha has just made survival a privilege I no longer deserve. I whisper because it's all I have. Please. The wind steals it. Aurelian doesn't look back. The last of the pack disappears into the curtain of snow, and the world becomes only white and pain, and the quiet, methodical sound of my blood soaking down into the cold. I close my eyes. I think, absurdly, of warmth, hearthstones, wolf fur blankets, hands cupped around a mug. I think of a lullaby my mother used to hum before she was taken in a border raid, her voice low, soothing, like she believed the world could be gentled if you sang at it long enough. My mouth opens for air. My lungs drag in snow. Then something else. Not scent exactly, not at first. A pressure. A shadow that changes the way the wind moves. The hairs at the back of my neck try to rise, but my body is too weak to obey. A sound reaches me through the whiteness. A low, rolling exhale, controlled, almost annoyed, as if whatever is out there has been inconvenienced by the storm. My eyes crack open. A shape coalesces from the snowfall, massive and black against the white like a wound in the world. Cloaked, hood up, shoulders broad enough to make the blizzard look smaller by comparison. He moves with the careful confidence of a predator who has never had to hurry. Not my pack, not even close. The air changes again as he comes nearer, his scent pushing through the cold like heat through stone, smoke, pine resin, and something dark and mineral like wet slate. It hits me low in my belly, an unwanted shiver that has nothing to do with the temperature. Alpha, not Aurelian, not anyone I know. My pulse panics and pain flares where my body tries to tense. I scramble backward, but the snow grabs me. My hands slip. My shoulder knocks hard into ice. He stops a few paces away and looks down at me. I can't see his eyes under the hood, but I can feel the weight of his attention as if he has put a hand on my throat. "You're bleeding out," he says. His voice is rough velvet, the kind that doesn't need to be loud because the world listens anyway. I bare my teeth automatically, a pathetic little show of defiance. "Go away." A pause. The wind hisses between us like a judge. "And let the mountain eat you." His head tilts. "Your pack already did." The words are not gentle. They aren't cruel either. They're simply true. My throat tightens. The humiliation is hot, sudden, almost worse than the cold. I try to push myself up. My leg buckles, my vision swims. "Don't," I start, because I don't even know what I'm asking him not to do. "Touch me. Smell me. Recognize what I am under the blood and fear and snow." He crouches, and the motion is smooth, economical, as if he's done it 1,000 times. The hood shifts. For a heartbeat, I see his face. High cheekbones. A scar that runs from the edge of his mouth down into his beard shadow, pale against weather-browned skin. Lips pressed in a line that suggests patience is not his natural virtue. His eyes, when they meet mine, are a startling gray-green, sea glass under storm. Predator's eyes. He reaches out. I slap at his hand weakly, my palm hitting leather. The gesture is more insult than defense. His gaze flicks to my bloody thigh. "You can't walk." "I can crawl," I rasp. "That's inspiring," he murmurs, tone dry in a way that makes my cheeks burn despite everything. Then his face shifts just slightly as if a new scent has found him. His nostrils flare once, controlled. His eyes narrow. I freeze. No, 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 no. I keep my voice steady with an effort that costs me. "Who are you?" A faint, humorless curve touches one corner of his mouth. "Someone your pack would kill on sight." My stomach drops. Border packs. Old feuds. Raids. The kind of hatred that outlives the reasons that birthed it. He looks past me toward the tracks my pack left behind, already filling in with new snow. "They left you like meat." I swallow blood. "They rejected me." It's the first time I say it out loud, and it makes my chest seize. Rejection isn't just a word, it's a brand. It's a law that seeps into the bones of everyone who hears it. His gaze returns to me. I know. "How?" He taps 2 fingers lightly at his own throat, then points at me. "Your scent is wrong, like a bond that got ripped out." I flinch. He watches the flinch. Something in his expression hardens, not anger, decision. He stands, and in one swift motion he shrugs off his cloak. The fabric is heavy, lined with fur, and it throws off the wind like a wall. He steps closer, and before I can protest, he drapes it over me, tucking it around my shoulders with hands that are big and careful in a way that makes my throat burn. "I don't want your," my teeth chatter too hard to finish. "You do," he says, "your body does." He reaches down, and for a terrifying moment I think he's going to hoist me over his shoulder like a sack. Instead, he slides one arm behind my back and the other under my knees, lifting me with a strength that makes my stomach lurch. Pain spikes through my leg, bright and sharp. I cry out, biting down on the sound too late. His jaw tightens. Sorry. The apology is clipped, but it's there. I twist, trying to see a weapon, trying to find anything I can use. My fingers catch on the edge of his belt, where a knife sheath sits. He notices, of course. Alphas always notice. If I meant to hurt you, he says quietly, you wouldn't have time to grab steel. A chill runs through me that has nothing to do with the storm. He starts walking. The snow swallows his boots less than it swallowed mine. He moves like he belongs to the mountain, like the cold is a minor inconvenience, not a killer. The cloak around me traps a pocket of heat, and I hate how desperately my body clings to it. Put me down, I manage. No, I bite my lip until I taste blood again. If your pack finds me, my pack will not touch you. The certainty in his tone makes my heart stumble. You can't promise that. I can, he says, and there's an edge of command in it that makes my spine react before my mind does. I hate that reaction. I hate my body for remembering how to obey. We crest a ridge, and the world opens into a shallow valley where the wind drops just enough to reveal dark shapes, pines clustered like bruises against the white. Beyond them, smoke threads upward, thin and steady. A camp, not a village, not a fortress. Something temporary but disciplined. Low tents half buried in snow, a fire pit ringed with stone, a few figures moving with purpose. They look up as we approach. Their attention hits me like a physical thing. I force myself to breathe shallowly, keeping my face turned toward the alpha who carries me, as if I can hide in his shadow. He doesn't slow. He doesn't announce me. He simply walks into his camp like he owns every breath of air in it. One of the figures steps forward, a woman, tall, dark-haired, her eyes sharp as flint. She takes in the blood on my leg, the pallor of my face, and then she looks at him. What did you drag in, Vesperian? So that's his name. Vesperian. It's too elegant for a man who smells like smoke and steel. He doesn't look at her. A problem I'm keeping. A stray, a person. The woman's gaze slides to me, cool, assessing. Your people will come looking. They already left her to die, Vesperian says, and something in his tone turns the statement into an accusation aimed at the entire world. Another man appears near the fire, older, his beard frosted, his posture straight despite the cold. He watches Vesperian with the weary patience of someone used to cleaning up after an alpha's instincts. Inside, the older man says, not to me, to Vesperian. Before she freezes in your arms. Vesperian nods once and carries me toward the largest tent. The air inside is warmer, heavy with the scent of wood smoke and dried herbs. There's a bedroll laid over pine boughs, and the sight of it makes my body sag with longing so intense it's almost painful. Vesperian lowers me carefully. When my back hits the bedding, I gasp, and he's immediately there, steadying my shoulder. His touch is warm through the leather of his gloves. I hate that I want to lean into it. The older man follows, ducking into the tent with a bundle of cloth and a pot that smells like boiled bark and bitter leaves. The dark-haired woman lingers at the entrance like a guard. Hold her down if she thrashes, the older man says to Vesperian, as if discussing a wounded deer. My eyes flare. I'm not, you will when I clean it, he interrupts, already reaching for my skirt. Panic claws up my throat. I scramble backward, but my leg screams and I nearly black out. Vesperian's hand closes on my wrist, firm but not crushing. His voice drops low, aimed directly at whatever frightened animal has taken over my body. Listen, you'll die if he doesn't stitch you. Do you want to die? My vision swims. Behind my eyes, shame burns like acid. I want to spit yes just to keep my pride, just to punish the world for what it did. But my body answers honestly. No, I whisper. Vesperian's grip loosens slightly, and I hate him for being right. The older man cuts the fabric away from my thigh with practiced care, exposing the wound. Cold air hits raw flesh. I clench my teeth until my jaw aches. Blade, he mutters. Deep but clean, lucky. Lucky. I almost laugh. He pours something that stings like fire. I jerk, a strangled sound ripping out of me. Vesperian's hand clamps on my forearm, anchoring me. Breathe, he commands softly. I try. It feels like swallowing knives. The older man works quickly, needle flashing, thread pulling through skin. I sweat despite the cold. Tears leak out of the corners of my eyes, freezing on my cheeks. Vesperian doesn't look away. His gaze stays on my face, not the wound, and that attention is an intimacy I don't know what to do with. When the last knot is tied, the older man wraps the bandage and finally leans back with a grunt. She's lost too much blood, he says. She needs broth, sleep, and she needs to be watched. The dark-haired woman at the entrance snorts. Watched for what? Thieving, screaming, dying. Watched, the older man repeats, and there's a warning in his voice now. Vesperian's eyes flick toward the woman. Something passes between them, history, hierarchy, a silent argument. The woman's mouth tightens. Fine. When her pack comes, don't pretend I didn't warn you. She leaves, letting the tent flap fall back into place with a dull thud. The older man begins packing his things. Name, he asks me more gently now. My tongue feels thick. My mind races anyway. Names are hooks. Names are how people tie you to their laws. I can't give them the name Aurelian's pack knows. I'm Usabao, I say, and the lie tastes almost like truth because it is my name, just not the whole of it. The older man nods. I'm Mailer. Try to drink when I bring it. Then he's gone too, leaving only the crackle of the fire outside and the heavy, dangerous quiet of being alone with an alpha who is not mine. Vesperian stands by the bedroll, looking down at me as if deciding where to place me in his world. I pull the cloak tighter around my shoulders. My fingers tremble. Why did you bring me here? His eyes flick to my throat, where my pulse stutters visibly. Then to my wrist, where Aurelian's old mark used to sit. It isn't there. Rejection burns out the claim, leaves the skin bare, but sometimes the body remembers and flushes anyway, as if the ghost of teeth still rests there. You smelled like a severed bond, Vesperian says, and like blood. That's not an answer. It is, he replies, calm. I find what's bleeding on my land. I decide if it lives. My stomach twists. Your land. He doesn't correct me. That tells me more than any map could. I swallow. So I'm a trophy. His gaze sharpens. No. A bargaining chip? No. I force myself to meet his eyes. Then what am I? For a long moment he says nothing, and the silence presses on my chest like snow. Finally, he exhales. A complication. The word should feel insulting. Somehow it doesn't. Somehow it feels like he has admitted I matter enough to disrupt his plans. My eyelids are heavy. Pain drags at every limb, but fear keeps me awake, bright, and bitter. Your pack will hate me, I whisper. They won't touch you, Vesperian repeats, and the repetition is a vow. You don't know what I am, I say before I can stop myself. His gaze narrows. I know you're not a warrior. My throat tightens, and I can't help it. My scent leaks, faint under the blood and herbs, a desperate little flare of what I've spent my whole life trying to smother. I feel it happen like a mistake, like a confession. Vesperian goes very still. The tent seems to shrink. His nostrils flare once, controlled again, but his pupils widen. Something animal and ancient wakes behind his eyes, and for a heartbeat I am prey under a predator's full attention. My pulse slams against my ribs. No, I clamp down, forcing my breathing shallow, trying to pull the scent back in like a tide. It doesn't work. Fear makes it worse. Always has. Vesperian's voice drops, rougher now. What are you? I swallow hard. A problem. It's my turn to use his word, and the small, bitter satisfaction of it sparks in me. He doesn't smile. He steps back instead, as if giving himself distance, as if he knows the rules his body wants to write, and he refuses to let them be written without consent. That, more than anything, is what scares me, because it's restraint, because restraint is rarer than cruelty. "I won't claim you," he says, each word measured, like stones placed carefully across a river. "I won't touch you without permission." My throat burns. "Why would you say that?" "Because you're frightened," he replies simply. "And because you're hurt, and because I'm not your enemy. Not my enemy." The phrase is so close to hope that it makes me dizzy. I turn my face away, staring at the dim canvas wall, listening to the wind. Somewhere outside, his pack moves, speaks in low voices, tends the fire. Life continues around me as if I haven't just been discarded like waste. "How long until my pack comes?" I ask. Vesperian's silence is answer enough. Then, quietly, "They might not." My chest tightens. "They'll come to finish it," I whisper, because that is what packs do when they feel their authority threatened. Rejection is a spectacle, but death is closure. Vesperian's tone turns cold. "Then they'll have to walk through me." The image hits me with a violent clarity. Aurelian, golden-eyed and beloved, standing with his wolves at his back, and Vesperian, dark and immovable, a wall of muscle and will. I shouldn't want that fight. I do. The thought is shameful, intoxicating. It tastes like revenge. A tremor runs through me that isn't entirely from cold. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he says, and the certainty in it makes my breath catch. My eyes drift, closed despite myself. Exhaustion pulls at me like hands. The last thing I feel before sleep is Vesperian's presence shifting as he lowers himself near the entrance of the tent, not in the bedroll beside mine, but close enough that if I scream, he'll be there. Guarding. Not owning. My body sinks into warmth. My mind sinks into darkness. And somewhere deep inside, where the bond used to hum, a different thread, thin, tentative, twangs like a string touched by accident. When I wake, the pain is still there, but it has edges now, not the consuming fog of before. The tent smells of broth and herbs and the faint smoke of pine. My mouth is dry. A wooden cup presses gently to my lips. I blink, and Mailer's lined face comes into focus. "Drink," he says. I do, because the broth is hot and salty and my body is greedy for anything that isn't snow. "Good," Mailer mutters. "Now, tell me the truth. Are you sick with fever, or is it fear making you shake?" I swallow. "Fear." Mailer nods as if that's the sensible option. "Fear keeps you alive. Don't let it make you stupid." His bluntness surprises a weak laugh out of me. It turns into a wince. Mailer sets the cup aside. "Vesperian's gone to check the perimeter. There were tracks." My stomach drops. "My pack. Maybe," Mailer says. "Maybe not. Plenty of hungry things out there that aren't wolves." He stands. "Eat when you can, and keep your scent under control." The words are casual, too casual. My pulse spikes. "You know," Mailer's eyes flick to mine, sharp as a knife. "I've been patching up bodies since before Vesperian learned to grow fangs. I know." My throat tightens. "Then why am I still here?" Mailer's mouth twitches, not quite a smile. "Because Vesperian dragged you in, and because you didn't try to bite my fingers off when I stitched you. That counts as good manners where I come from." A lump rises in my throat so fast it scares me. Manners, as if I haven't just been branded disposable. Mailer leaves again, and I lie back, staring up at the tent seam where a line of pale light leaks through. Outside, the camp murmurs with movement. I should run. The thought is automatic, drilled into me by years of pack politics. An unclaimed woman is fair game, and an Omega, rare or not, is a prize that invites violence. But my body is broken, and the world beyond the tent is white and deadly. So I stay. Hours pass in a haze of dozing and waking, each time the pain tugging me back to reality. Once someone enters soft steps, a scent like dried lavender and cold stone. A young woman kneels beside me, sets down clean cloth, and doesn't meet my eyes. "You're Vesperian S," she says, not unkindly, simply curious. My throat tightens. "No," her eyebrows lift. "Then you're trouble." The honesty almost makes me smile. "Yes." She hesitates, then offers her name anyway. "Kareen." "Usabao," I reply, and the lie settles like a cloak over my shoulders. Kareen nods and begins to clean the blood from my hands with careful strokes. Her touch is gentle, but she keeps her own scent tight, controlled, as if she's been taught to never give an omega or an alpha an opening. A rule in action. When she leaves, the tent feels larger, emptier. By evening, the wind changes. It rattles the canvas with a different rhythm, and I feel it in my bones like a warning. The tent flap lifts, and Vesperian steps inside, snow dusting his shoulders, his hair damp at the temples. He looks as if the storm tried to chew him and failed. His gaze goes straight to me. "You're awake." "I was never really asleep," I admit. He crouches near the bedroll, close enough that I can see a fresh smear of blood on the knuckle of his right hand. Not mine. My stomach twists. "What happened?" "Nothing you need to carry," he says, and the words are a strange kind of tenderness wrapped in command. I force myself to ask anyway. "Were there tracks?" "Yes." My mouth goes dry. "My pack." Vesperian's expression stays unreadable, but something in his eyes turns sharp. "Not yet. A scout. One watching," my breath catches. "Aurelian's?" The name spills out before I can stop it. It tastes like ash. Vesperian's jaw tightens just barely. "So that's your alpha." "Was," I whisper. The silence that follows is heavy with things unsaid. The humiliation, the torn bond, the way my body still remembers the shape of obedience. Vesperian reaches into his coat and pulls out a small bundle wrapped in cloth. He sets it beside me. "What is it?" I ask. "Food," he says, "and this." He unwraps it to reveal a narrow strip of leather, dark and supple, with a simple clasp. A collar, not ornamental, but practical, something a traveler might wear to keep warmth in. Something that could hide a throat and the pulse beneath it. My stomach flips. "Why?" His eyes meet mine steadily. "To cover your scent." I stare at it, heart thudding. "That's a claim." "It can be read as one," he admits. "That's the point." Panic flares. You won't be claimed," he cuts in, voice low but firm. "Not like that. But if your old pack sees you as unclaimed, they'll treat you like an object to be recovered or discarded. If they think you're under another alpha's protection, they'll hesitate. Packs understand territory. They understand possession." My throat burns. "So I have to pretend to belong to you to survive." Vesperian's gaze doesn't soften, but his voice does, just slightly. "You have to survive." The collar lies on the bedding between us like a decision. I stare at it, then at him, searching for mockery, for hunger, for that gleam alphas get when they think they've found a weakness they can use. I find none of it. I find something worse. Respect. As if he's giving me a weapon and trusting I won't turn it on him. My fingers tremble as I pick up the leather. It's warm from his pocket. It smells faintly of him, smoke and pine and stone. I lift it toward my throat. My hands shake too much to clasp it. Without a word, Vesperian reaches forward. He pauses, giving me time to pull back. When I don't, he fastens the clasp with careful fingers, never pressing into my skin, never trapping me. The leather settles against my throat. My pulse jumps under it. My body reacts in that treacherous, instinctive way, heat pooling low, a shiver that isn't fear. I hate myself for the reaction. I hate the world for building me like this. Vesperian's gaze holds mine, steady and solemn, as if he feels the tremor in me and refuses to take advantage of it. "You are safe here," he says. The words hit me harder than any blow. Safe. I swallow, throat tight under the collar. For how long? His eyes flick briefly toward the tent flap, toward the world outside where snow falls like silence. Then back to me. "As long as I'm breathing," he says, and in the quiet that follows, I realize he isn't promising it like a poet. He's promising it like a man who has already decided what he's willing to kill for. And somewhere out there in the storm, a scout carries my scent back down the mountain, different now, threaded with smoke and pine, wrapped in another alpha's shadow. Aurelian will smell it. He will understand, and he will come. The night the scout comes back, I don't see him. I smell the consequences. It starts as a tightening in the camp, like a fist closing slowly. Voices drop. Footsteps get deliberate. Even the fire seems to burn lower, as if the flames have learned caution from the people who tend them. Somewhere beyond the tent, a wolf gives one short warning call and cuts it off before it can become panic. Vesperian doesn't leave me alone after that. He sits near the entrance again, broad shoulders blocking the draft, his presence an anchor I didn't ask for and can't stop myself from using. When I shift on the bedroll, he looks over immediately, as if he has been listening to the language of my breathing. "You should sleep," he says. "I can't," I admit, my fingers worrying the edge of the leather at my throat. The collar has already changed how people look at me. Corinne's gaze lingers a fraction longer now before she looks away. Mailer watches me like a problem he intends to solve. The others, those I glimpse through the flap, move around me with the wary respect given to territory they don't want to trespass on. It's a lie that functions like truth, and that makes it dangerous. Outside, the wind shoves snow against the tent in soft, persistent waves. Inside, my body pulses with soreness, and that thin, humiliating need for comfort that always follows injury, like the mind is trying to bribe the flesh into staying alive. I find Vesperian's hands with my eyes, scarred knuckles, a fresh split on one finger that has crusted over, blood that isn't mine. "Did you hurt the scout?" I ask. His jaw works once. I warned him. "Warnings aren't what alphas do when they're threatened," I whisper. His gaze slides to me, steady as stone. "I'm not threatened by a boy watching from the trees." The words should calm me. They don't, because if he isn't threatened, then he's preparing. I pull a breath, tasting smoke and herbs, and speak the fear that has been gnawing through me since the moment I woke on his bedding. If they come, they'll claim I'm theirs. Vesperian's eyes narrow slightly. "You're not." "You don't know what Aurelian said," I reply, and the name scalds on the way out. "You don't know what he accused me of. He turned the whole pack against me in one breath. They watched him do it. They answered. That kind of shame doesn't wash out. It needs a body to bury." A low sound leaves Vesperian's throat, not quite a growl, not quite a sigh. His restraint always looks like effort, as if he is holding a storm behind his teeth. "Then we won't give them your body," he says. It settles in me like warmth, immediate and treacherous. I stare at him until my eyes burn. "Why are you doing this?" Vesperian doesn't look away. "Because I know what it is to be used as a lesson." The answer lands like a stone dropped into dark water, sending rings through me that I don't know how to name. Before I can ask what he means, a voice calls from outside, sharp with urgency. "Vesperian," Corinne's voice, not frightened, controlled, that frightens me more. Vesperian rises, the tent suddenly colder without his body blocking the draft. He pauses with one hand on the flap, then looks back at me. "Stay here," he says, and there is a command in it that slides under my skin and presses against something instinctive. I force my chin up. "I'm not your pack." His gaze holds mine for a beat longer. "No," he agrees, and the way he says it feels like respect, not dismissal. "You're the reason they'll try to cross my border." Then he's gone. I lie in the dimness, heart hammering too hard for a body that's still healing. The urge to run claws at me, stupid and frantic. But my leg throbs with each shift, and the canvas walls might as well be stone. I try to listen through the wind, picking out scraps, boots, the crack of firewood, the faint clink of metal. And then, clear as if spoken into my ear, I catch the sound that haunts me more than any wolf's call. Aurelian's laugh. Not close enough to hear words, but close enough that my body recognizes the cadence, the easy confidence, the way the world always bent to meet him. My stomach twists so hard I nearly retch. He is here. The bond that isn't there anymore still aches like a phantom. My skin prickles as if he has brushed past me. I clench my hands in the blanket until my knuckles ache. The collar at my throat suddenly feels too tight, as if it is trying to hide a pulse that has become a beacon. The tent flap snaps open. It's Mailer, eyes bright, face grim. He looks me over once, taking in the pallor, the tightness around my mouth, the way my shoulders are drawn up to protect my throat. "You're going to hear things," he says. I swallow. "They're outside." Mailer nods. "At the edge, Vesperian's keeping them there." My voice comes out thin. "How many?" "Enough," Mailer says, and there's old bitterness under the word. "Your old Alpha brought witnesses." Of course he did. Aurelian never did anything without an audience. Not affection, not punishment, not rejection. My throat tightens until it hurts. "What happens now?" Mailer's gaze sharpens. "That depends on what you are willing to do." I stare at him. "What I am willing, you heard me," he cuts in, not unkindly. "If you hide behind Vesperian, he'll fight, he'll bleed, he might die. If you step out and speak, you risk them taking you anyway. Pack law is a net. You need to decide which threads you're going to pull." A tremor runs through me, part fear, part rage. They rejected me. They don't get to claim me again. Mailer's mouth tightens. "Tell them that, with witnesses, loud enough that the mountain hears you." My pulse stutters. I picture it, standing in the snow before the pack that turned away, before the faces that watched me fall and did nothing. I can taste the humiliation already, sharp as metal. Mailer reaches into his coat and pulls out a small cloth bundle. He opens it to reveal a vial of dark liquid. "What is that?" I ask. "Pine sap tincture," he says. "It'll dull your pain long enough to stand without shaking. It'll also sharpen your scent for a while." My breath catches. "Why would I want that?" Mailer's eyes narrow. "Because your old Alpha came, because your scent changed. Let him smell what he lost. Let the pack smell that you're not his to discard and retrieve. Shame is a weapon too, if you hold it right." My stomach rolls. The idea of my scent being a weapon makes me feel exposed, obscene, but there's a hard little spark in me that has survived everything. I take the vial with shaking fingers. "If I do this, will Vesperian let me?" Mailer studies me as if he can see under my skin. "Vesperian doesn't let women do anything. That's half the reason his enemies call him dangerous." I blink at that. Mailer's gaze softens by a fraction. "Drink, then decide." He leaves before I can ask more. I sit there with the vial in my hand, listening to my own blood roar in my ears, listening for the moment when my fear becomes unbearable enough to turn into something else. I uncork it and drink. The bitterness hits my tongue like burned needles. Heat spreads through my body a moment later, not pleasant, but effective, loosening the clamp of pain just enough that I can move without blacking out. My head clears in a sharp, cold way, as if the world has come into focus by force. And then my scent shifts. I feel it happen like a blush under the skin, a warmth that rises from deep inside and pushes outward, threading through the smoke and pine of the tent until it becomes something unmistakable. Omega, not the soft, common sweetness most packs expect. Mine has always been wrong, too clean, too bright, like frost over berries, like winter sunlight on stone. It's why I learned early to swallow it down and hide it under herbs and discipline, why my mother used to press sprigs of juniper into my pockets and tell me to breathe through my mouth when alphas were near. Rare, Mailer had implied, even if he didn't say the word. Now, drug-sharpened and stirred by stress, it blooms anyway. My stomach twists with dread and anger and a sudden, startling clarity. If they are coming for me because my scent changed, then hiding is already over. The lie has already cracked. My only power now is what I do with the truth. I brace my hands on the bedroll and push myself upright. Pain flares, but the tincture blunts it, turning it into a hot, distant ache. I stand. My leg trembles once, then steadies. The collar at my throat suddenly feels like a banner. I pull the tent flap open. Cold slaps me hard enough to steal my breath, but the sky has cleared to a brittle, star-littered black. Snow lies in pale, rolling dunes around the camp, moonlight turning every drift into a blade. The camp's people are gathered near the fire, not clustered in fear, but spaced with intention, like a line drawn across the land. Corrine stands with her arms crossed, face composed, eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the pines. And there, at the edge of the firelight, Vesperian stands facing the tree line, body still, shoulders squared, hands loose at his sides in a posture that says he doesn't need a weapon to be dangerous. Across from him, shadowed by the trees, shapes shift. Wolves, my old pack. I can smell them now too, familiar musk and fur and pack-bonded comfort twisted into something sour by memory. The scent of home turned rancid. Aurelian steps forward into the firelight as if he owns it. He looks the same. Of course he does. Golden hair pulled back, fur-lined cloak that used to feel like safety when it covered my shoulders. His eyes sweep the camp, taking in the number of bodies, the spacing, the readiness, and a slow smile spreads across his mouth. Then his gaze finds me. The smile falters for a heartbeat, as if his mind refuses to accept what his nose has already told him. Alive. My scent hits him a moment later, and I watch his pupils widen, watch his nostrils flare with a hunger he doesn't bother to hide. The expression that crosses his face isn't relief. It's possession rediscovering its object. "Usebao," he says, voice carrying through the cold like a warm blade. Hearing my name in his mouth makes my stomach churn. It's not tenderness, it's a hook. I force myself to walk forward, each step deliberate, my leg protesting but obeying. The camp's people watch me without moving. No one stops me, no one reaches. Vesperian turns his head slightly, tracking me with his eyes. He doesn't come to my side. He doesn't block me. He lets me choose. That choice feels like the first true gift I've been given in months. Aurelian's gaze drops to the collar at my throat. His smile returns, sharper now. "So it's true," he says softly, and then louder for everyone. "He touched you." A murmur ripples through my old pack behind him. A sound like a pack shifting its weight toward violence. My cheeks burn, hot with humiliation and rage. "He didn't." Aurelian's head tilts, mock pity in the motion. "Then you put another alpha's sign on your throat for fun? It's protection," I say, and my voice shakes on the last word because it shouldn't have to be. I shouldn't have to explain why I didn't want to die. Aurelian steps closer, stopping just beyond the firelight, where shadow and light stripe his face like bars. "Protection is mine to give you," he says. "You forgot your place." My breath catches. The old reflex submit, soothe, survive tries to rise in me. I crush it. "My place," I repeat, letting the words settle into my mouth like stones. "You mean the place you assigned me when you rejected me." Aurelian's smile twitches. For a fraction of a second, annoyance flashes through his eyes. He doesn't like being reminded of what he did when witnesses are listening. He spreads his hands in a theatrical gesture. "I did what I had to. You were compromised, unstable. You were putting the pack at risk." A hot, bitter laugh escapes me. By bleeding, Aurelian's jaw tightens. By existing the way you do, he snaps, and then his face smooths, the alpha mask sliding back into place. But you're alive. That means the mountain didn't want you, and neither do I. The pack behind him stirs, confused by the shift. Aurelian continues, voice silk over steel. To waste what belongs to my line. Come back, Usabao. I'll take you in, I'll forgive you. The pack will forget this little wandering. My stomach turns, forgive, as if I wronged him by refusing to freeze. He steps forward again, and I catch the scent of him fully now. It used to soothe me, used to make me feel held. Now it makes my skin crawl. Say it, Aurelian murmurs, eyes bright. Say you want to come home. Home. The word is a knife twisted slowly. Behind me, I feel Vesperian's presence like a wall, even though he still hasn't moved. I can sense the camp holding its breath, waiting for my answer like it will decide whether blood soaks the snow tonight. I lift my chin. You severed our bond, I say, loud enough that both packs hear. You rejected me with witnesses. You left me for the mountain. You don't get to call me home. Aurelian's smile fades completely. His voice drops, dangerous now. You're speaking out of turn. I'm speaking, I correct, and my hands shake with the effort of it. And you will listen, because you made my life a spectacle and you don't get to control the ending. A murmur runs through Vesperian's camp this time, low and approving. Kareen's mouth curves, just barely, like she's watching a blade find its target. Aurelian's gaze flicks past me to Vesperian, and something ugly curls in his expression. So you're hiding behind him, he says. That's what this is. Vesperian finally moves. He steps forward into the firelight with the calm inevitability of a storm. His shadow stretches long across the snow, swallowing the space between us. This is your last step onto my land, Vesperian says, voice even. Take the next, and I'll treat it as an invasion. Aurelian laughs once, sharp and incredulous. You think a border claim scares me? It doesn't have to scare you, Vesperian replies. It has to bind you. Pack law, spoken plainly. I watch Aurelian's eyes narrow. He understands the rules as well as I do. The only reason he is here at all, the only reason he hasn't already ordered his wolves forward, is because he wants a public victory. He wants to win me like a prize so the pack remembers who holds the leash. Aurelian's gaze slides to my throat again, and his lip curls. She is mine, he says. She was marked by my authority. She was rejected by your authority, Vesperian corrects, and the quiet certainty in his tone makes my heart slam against my ribs. That ended your claim. Aurelian's voice sharpens. A rejection can be rescinded. Mailer steps forward from the side, his older voice carrying like an iron bell. Not after the first snow touches her blood. Everyone here knows that. Aurelian's eyes flick to Mailer, recognizing him as a neutral voice, a healer, a witness whose words carry weight. The muscle in Aurelian's jaw jumps. You brought a lawman into your little camp, Aurelian sneers at Vesperian. I brought a man who knows the old laws, Vesperian replies. You came with wolves who only know how to obey you. The insult is quiet, and therefore it cuts deeper. Aurelian's gaze returns to me, and he shifts tactics with the ease of a practiced predator. His voice warms, softening into something that would have made me melt once. Usabao, he says, as if we're alone. You're frightened, you're confused. Come back and I'll make this right. My throat tightens, but not with longing, with fury. You don't even hear yourself, I whisper. You left me to die. Aurelian's eyes flash. For a second the mask cracks. You embarrassed me. There it is, not danger, not pack risk, not mercy, ego. My breath hitches, and the pain is so sharp it almost makes me dizzy. Not because it's new, but because it confirms what I refused to admit while I was still trying to be loved. Vesperian's voice drops into the space between us, colder than the snow. Enough. Aurelian straightens, offended. This doesn't concern you. It concerns my border, Vesperian says. And it concerns the woman you're trying to take like property. Aurelian bares his teeth, the civilized veneer sliding off. She is property, that's what omegas are. The word hits the air like a slap. A ripple of anger runs through Vesperian's camp, not loud but palpable. Kareen's eyes turn flint-hard. My stomach flips, and suddenly the fear shifts, transmuting into something steadier. A quiet, lethal refusal. I step forward before I can lose the nerve. The firelight paints my breath in pale clouds. I am not your property, I say, voice shaking but clear, and I will not return to you. Aurelian's eyes widen slightly, as if he didn't believe I could say it out loud. Then his gaze turns calculating. You're saying that because he scented you, he says, voice sly. Because your body is responding to another alpha. Heat floods my cheeks. Rage, humiliation, instinct all tangled. I'm saying it because you tried to kill me, I spit, and the words feel like ripping a splinter out of flesh. And because I would rather be alone in the snow than under your protection again. Silence falls hard. For a heartbeat, even the wind seems to pause. Aurelian's face goes still in a way that makes my skin crawl. That stillness is his decision settling into place. You're not allowed to choose, he says softly. My blood runs cold. Vesperian shifts, his body angling subtly, not shielding me like an object, but placing himself where he can intercept the first lunge. The movement is small, controlled, but it screams intent. Aurelian's gaze locks on Vesperian. Then we do this the old way, he says, voice rising so both packs hear. Trial by blood, alpha against alpha. Winner claims the right to decide her fate. My stomach drops. I knew this was coming the moment I smelled Aurelian's laugh in the dark, but knowing doesn't make it easier. The idea of men bleeding over me, of my life reduced to a prize again, makes bile rise in my throat. No, I say, harsh and immediate. Aurelian's smile returns, triumphant. You don't get a vote. Vesperian's eyes flick to me. And then, to my shock, he speaks to me first, not Aurelian. Do you want me to refuse? He asks quietly. The question is a knife and a balm at the same time. If he refuses, Aurelian will call him weak, will press the border, will find another way. If Vesperian accepts, he could die. My throat burns. I look at Aurelian, at the wolves behind him, at the faces that once were mine and now watch me like a piece of meat on a hook. I think of the snow in my mouth. I think of the empty place where the bond used to be, aching like an old wound. And I look at Vesperian, at the restraint, the careful distance, the way he asked before he acted. I don't want anyone to die, I whisper. Vesperian's gaze stays on mine. That wasn't the question, my lungs seize, because the truth is sharp and terrible and liberating all at once. I cannot stop Aurelian from being what he is. I can only decide whether I keep letting him write my story. I swallow hard, and my voice comes out steadier than I feel. I want you to protect me, I say. Something shifts in Vesperian's eyes, a hardening into purpose that makes my pulse jump. He turns back to Aurelian. I accept, Vesperian says, voice calm as a drawn blade. But not for her fate, for her right to choose it. Aurelian laughs, delighted. You'll lose. Maybe, Vesperian replies, but you'll bleed. The packs move, forming a ring in the snow, an arena carved out by bodies and breath. Someone drags a burning branch from the fire and plants it in the snow as a marker, steam hissing as it melts a dark hole. Another torch joins it, then another, creating a rough circle of firelight that turns the snow into a stage. Rules in motion. Mailer steps into the circle, face grim. No knives, he calls. No wolves joining. Alpha against alpha. Yield or death ends it. Witnesses from both sides. Aurelian shrugs off his cloak with theatrical ease and steps into the ring shirt-sleeved despite the cold, his muscles coiled, his confidence gleaming. He looks at Vesperian with bright, eager malice. Vesperian removes his coat more slowly, folding it with an almost insulting care before handing it to Kareen. His shirt clings to his torso, dark with meltwater, revealing the hard planes of him, the old scars that tell stories his face never will. When he steps into the circle, he doesn't look like a man hungry for violence. He looks like a man resigned to it. My heart hammers so hard I feel it in my throat under the leather. Aurelian paces once, like he's warming up for a hunt. "When I win," he says loudly, "I'm taking her back, and I'll make sure she remembers what obedience feels like." A cold nausea washes over me. Vesperian's head tilts very slightly. "You talk too much," he says. Aurelian lunges. The fight is sudden, brutal, intimate in a way that makes my stomach clench. Snow sprays under their boots. Aurelian is fast, all sharp angles and practiced dominance, trying to overwhelm with speed and confidence. He aims for Vesperian's face, his throat, the places that end things quickly. Vesperian absorbs the first rush like stone absorbs rain. He blocks with forearms, redirects with small movements that waste no energy, then drives forward with a shoulder that knocks Aurelian back half a step. The sound of impact is dull, heavy, like meat hitting wood. Aurelian snarls, eyes flashing, and swings again. Vesperian ducks, grabs Aurelian's wrist, and twists. Aurelian's surprise is a blink, a hitch in his breath, because alphas like him are used to people yielding, not being handled. He jerks free, spitting fury. "You think you can?" Vesperian slams his palm into Aurelian's chest, hard enough that Aurelian stumbles. Snow crunches. The ring tightens with the crowd's tension. My hands fly to my mouth. I can't breathe. Aurelian recovers quickly and drives in low, aiming to take Vesperian off his feet. Vesperian steps aside at the last moment, hooks an arm under Aurelian's shoulder, and uses his momentum against him. Aurelian hits the snow on one knee, then surges up, wild with humiliation. His eyes flick toward me, and I see it. The moment he decides he doesn't need to win cleanly, he just needs to win. He feints left, then snaps right with a vicious elbow aimed at Vesperian's jaw. The strike lands, a crack of sound that makes me flinch. Vesperian's head jerks with the impact, and for a terrifying half-second he looks human, vulnerable. Aurelian surges forward, sensing blood. Vesperian's eyes refocus, colder now. He wipes a smear of blood from the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand, glances at the red on his skin as if confirming a fact, and then moves. He doesn't charge. He advances. Pressure, relentless, controlled. He catches Aurelian's next strike, steps inside his reach, and drives his knee up into Aurelian's stomach with a brutal efficiency that knocks the breath out of him. Aurelian folds, gagging, and Vesperian grabs the back of his neck and forces him down into the snow. Aurelian's hands scrabble, trying to push up to regain pride. Vesperian's voice cuts through the ring, low and deadly. "Yield." Aurelian chokes on snow and rage. "Never." Vesperian tightens his grip, and I see the tendons in his forearm stand out like ropes. He could end it. He could snap Aurelian's neck and make the problem stop breathing. My stomach flips. I step forward without thinking, my voice ripping out of me. "Vesperian." He doesn't look at me. He doesn't loosen. Aurelian's eyes, pressed close to the snow, flick toward me, and even pinned, even humiliated, he finds a way to smile. "He'll kill for you," Aurelian pants, voice thick. "He'll take you like a trophy after." My skin crawls. Vesperian's voice drops lower. "You don't get to speak about her." Aurelian's smile widens. "You already want her. I can smell it." I can smell it too, the truth under the cruelty. The way Vesperian's scent has deepened since I stepped out of the tent, the way his control has a cost. He's an alpha. He's not made of virtue, he's made of teeth and instinct like the rest of them. The difference is that he treats instinct like a blade kept sheathed until invited. Aurelian spits blood into the snow. "Do it," he hisses at Vesperian. "Show her what you are." Vesperian's grip tightens. I see the moment his restraint threatens to fracture, and terror lances through me not of him, but for him. If he kills Aurelian here, my old pack will never stop hunting. Blood calls blood. The mountain will drink for years. And I don't want Vesperian to become a man who has to carry that weight because of me. My voice comes out raw. Don't kill him. Vesperian's head turns slightly, just enough that I see his profile, the smear of blood at his mouth, the storm in his eyes held behind iron. "Why?" he asks quietly, and the question is meant for me, not for the ring. I swallow hard, my throat burning under the collar. "Because I want to leave him alive to watch me choose," I whisper. "And because I don't want you to be bound to him in blood forever." The words hang in the cold like a vow. Vesperian's gaze holds mine for a heartbeat, and something in him settles. Decision, again, not hunger, not pride, choice. He turns back and shoves Aurelian's face harder into the snow for a final, humiliating moment. Then he yanks him up by the collar and throws him backward. Aurelian sprawls, coughing, sucking in air like it hurts to exist. Vesperian stands over him, chest heaving once, then controlled again. "Yield," Vesperian repeats. Aurelian's eyes flick to his pack. Witnesses. Faces that will remember whether he surrendered. His pride wars with survival. His pride loses because even arrogance can recognize death when it's breathing down your neck. Aurelian's voice scrapes out. "I yield." A murmur ripples through the ring, loud this time. Mailer steps into the circle immediately, lifting both hands. "It's done," he declares. By blood right, the challenger yields. The defender holds the right. Aurelian pushes himself up, face streaked with snow and blood, eyes bright with hate that he is forced to swallow. He looks at Vesperian, then at me, as if recalculating the shape of his control. Vesperian turns toward me. Every gaze follows his movement. The entire world narrows to the space between us, firelight flickering, snow glittering like crushed glass. Vesperian's voice is steady. "Tell them," he says. My mouth goes dry. I step forward, my legs screaming faintly, but the tincture holds. I move until I'm standing at the edge of the ring, close enough that I can smell Aurelian's fury and Vesperian's smoke. My old pack stares at me like they're seeing a ghost that has learned how to speak. Aurelian's eyes are locked on my throat. The collar, the pulse beneath it, the place he used to put his authority like a brand. The instinct to hide surges. I don't. I reach up and unfasten the collar with shaking fingers, letting it fall into my palm. Cold air hits my throat, and my scent spills freer, brighter, the winter sweetness sharpened by fear and defiance. Aurelian inhales sharply. I see it hit him like a drug. His hands flex at his sides, fighting the urge to grab. The wolves behind him shift, unsettled by the intensity of it. I speak before my courage can flee. "I was rejected by Aurelian under witness," I say, voice carrying. "I was left in the snow to die. That ended his claim." Aurelian's jaw clenches, but he can't deny it. He did it publicly. He wanted the shame to stick. I keep going because stopping would be surrender. "I am not returning," I say, louder now. Not as his Omega, not as his burden, not as his lesson. I choose my own protection. The pack behind Aurelian murmurs again, some faces hardening, some flickering with doubt. Aurelian steps forward, voice low and venomous. "You can't choose a hostile alpha," he says. "He's an enemy." I look him in the eyes, and the fear that used to make me soften now makes me steady. You made me his border problem, I say. You made me pray. Don't pretend you care who protects me now. Aurelian's face twists and his voice rises, losing polish. You were always too difficult. He stops himself, but too late. The word is already in the air, shaped by his tongue even if he didn't release it. Too rare. My stomach drops. Some of the wolves behind him go very still, their noses lifting subtly, as if they're finally reading what they refused to see before. Mailer's earlier comment clicks into place in my mind like a lock turning. Let them smell what he lost. Aurelian's eyes flash with sudden alarm, as if he realizes he has revealed more than he intended. Because if the pack understands what I am, then they understand why he rejected me and why he returned now. He didn't come back out of mercy. He came back out of greed. The realization runs through the crowd, visible in the way bodies angle, the way eyes sharpen. Even wolves who obey him have instincts about scarce things, about power and prestige. Aurelian's voice hardens. You will come back, he says. If you don't, I will tell every border pack what you are. You won't be safe anywhere. The threat hits me like ice water. My breath catches. And then Vesperian speaks, calm as a blade sliding free. Then tell them, he says. Aurelian turns, startled. Vesperian steps closer to me, not touching, not claiming, simply standing at my side as if he belongs there because I asked him to protect me. Let them come, Vesperian continues, voice carrying through the ring. I'll answer every challenge the way I answered yours, and while they're busy bleeding on my snow, she'll be inside my borders, choosing her life. Aurelian stares at him as if he's looking at something he can't understand, a kind of strength that doesn't need to dominate to exist. Why? Aurelian spits. Why would you do that for her? Vesperian's gaze doesn't even flicker. Because she asked, he says simply. The words hit me in the ribs, not romantic, not poetic, devastating in their plainness. Because I asked, not because he wanted to win, not because he wanted to own, because he honored my voice. My eyes sting with sudden tears, and I blink them back hard, furious that my body still tries to turn emotion into weakness. Aurelian's expression contorts. He looks around, searching for the pack's support, for the old easy dominance that used to come when he lifted his chin. But the air has changed. Witnesses have seen him yield. Witnesses have heard his threat. The pack behind him has smelled my scent and the truth of his interest in it. Aurelian's authority cracks, just a little. And through that crack, I see something that frightens me more than his anger, desperation. You'll regret this, he says, voice hoarse. When his instincts turn, when he marks you and you realize you traded a familiar cage for a stronger one. Vesperian's gaze turns glacial. Leave. Aurelian's eyes lock on mine. You're making a mistake, he says, softer now, as if he can lure me back with the memory of what I once wanted. You were mine first. I inhale, letting my scent steady, letting my spine remember it is mine to straighten. No, I say, you were my first mistake. The words slice clean. Aurelian flinches as if struck, then his face hardens into something brittle. He turns sharply and signals his pack with a curt gesture. They withdraw, not fleeing, but retreating with the reluctant obedience of wolves whose alpha has lost shine in front of them. Aurelian doesn't look back as he disappears into the trees. This time, I don't beg. I don't even whisper, I just breathe. The ring loosens as people move, murmuring, the tension draining into the night like blood into snow. Mailer and Kareen exchange a look, approval, relief, calculation. Someone laughs under their breath, the sound sharp and alive, because survival always tastes like something close to joy. Vesperian stays beside me silent, his attention fixed on me as if he's waiting for the next thing I choose. I swallow, throat raw. It's not over, I whisper. I know, he replies. The honesty steadies me more than reassurance would have. He'll come again, I say. Maybe not tomorrow, but he will. Vesperian's gaze drifts briefly toward the trees where Aurelian vanished. Then we'll be ready. The confidence in his voice should terrify me. Instead, it makes something soft in my chest ache. I look down at the collar in my hand, then up at him. Thank you, I say, and the words feel inadequate. Vesperian's eyes narrow slightly, as if he's wary of gratitude because it can become obligation. Don't thank me, he says. Rest, heal, decide what you want. Decide. I've never heard an alpha offer that word like it's real. I wrap my fingers around the collar, grounding myself in the leather's texture. The camp around us slowly returns to motion, but the people move differently now, casting me glances that carry something new. Not pity, not suspicion. Respect edged with curiosity. The rarest thing of all, space. The next morning, the sky is a pale, unforgiving blue. The storm has cleared, leaving the world scrubbed clean and sharp as glass. The snow reflects sunlight so fiercely it hurts to look at. My leg aches, but I can walk without shaking. Mailer says the stitches are holding well, that my body is stubborn. I want to tell him stubbornness is the only inheritance my mother left me, but the words lodge in my throat. Vesperian keeps the camp moving. They don't linger because lingering invites attention, and attention invites hungry alphas with old grudges and newer greed. They pack with efficiency, folding tents, stamping out the fire, covering traces like wolves who know they are being watched. By midday, we're traveling. I ride part of the way on a sturdy pack horse, bundled in furs that smell like pine and smoke. Corrine walks beside me for a while, her steps sure in the snow. She doesn't speak at first, but her eyes keep flicking to my throat, to the bare skin where the collar used to sit. You took it off, she says finally. I didn't want to wear a lie longer than I had to, I reply. Corrine hums, considering. It wasn't a lie that he'd protect you. I glance toward Vesperian ahead, where he breaks trail with effortless strength. No, I admit. It was. Corrine's gaze sharpens. Do you know why the name Vesperian makes other packs spit? I tense. Because he's an enemy. Because he doesn't play the way they do, Corrine corrects, voice flat. He doesn't buy loyalty with favors. He doesn't trade women to settle debts. He doesn't beg councils for permission. He just holds his land. There's a grudging respect under her words, like she hates that she admires him. I swallow. And you, why do you follow him? Corrine looks forward, expression unreadable. Because I once belonged to a pack that thought fear was the same thing as order, she says. Then Vesperian burned their kennel down. My breath catches. He didn't kill everyone, Corrine says, cutting me off. He killed the alpha, the rest ran. The women left with him because they were tired of being trophies. She glances at me then, eyes like flint. Sound familiar. A cold shiver runs through me that isn't from the wind. The world keeps moving under the pale sun, the snow crunching under boots in a steady rhythm that feels like a heartbeat. For the first time in weeks, I notice small things without immediate terror. Ravens circling high, the clean snap of frozen branches, the way sunlight turns Vesperian's dark hair almost blue at the edges. We crest another ridge near dusk and see it, the valley beyond, sheltered by thick pine and carved by a narrow river that hasn't frozen completely. Smoke rises from chimneys. Lights glow warm behind small windows. A settlement, not large, but solid, ringed by wooden palisades half buried in snow. Not a camp, a home. My chest tightens, and I don't know if it's hope or fear. As we approach, guards on the palisade call out. Vesperian answers with a short signal and a scent that rolls outward like authority. The gates open. People appear in the doorway of a longhouse, watching. Faces of all ages. Not just wolves, but humans too, traders, craftsmen, children bundled in wool. The air smells like bread and wood smoke and life. A woman steps forward from the longhouse, older than Corrine, hair silver, posture straight. Her gaze lands on Vesperian first, sharp and assessing, then shifts to me. It's not a warm gaze, it's a weighing gaze. "This is the one," she says, not a question. Vesperian nods once. "This is us, bow." The woman's eyes flick to my throat, to my face, to the way I'm wrapped in his pack's furs without looking owned by them. "I'm Eudocia," she says. "Council." My stomach drops. A council means rules, and rules mean nets. Eudocia turns her gaze back to Vesperian. "Inside," she says, "we need to speak." I dismount carefully, my leg protesting, and follow them into the longhouse. Heat hits me like a wall. The smell of stew and yeast makes my stomach twist with hunger I didn't realize was there. People watch as we pass. Not hostile, not friendly, curious, cautious. A settlement that has learned survival by minding its own business until it must not. We enter a smaller room off the main hall. A table, benches, a hearth, maps pinned to the wall, a place where decisions are made. Eudocia sits. Vesperian remains standing, arms crossed. Corrine leans against the wall like a blade at rest. Mailer hovers near the hearth, pretending he's only there because of the fire. Eudocia looks at me. "Your pack will claim you," she says. "It's not an accusation, it's a fact." I lift my chin. "They rejected me." Eudocia's eyes narrow. "They did. And then they came back when they smelled what you are." Heat floods my cheeks. I hate the way my body wants to hide even now. Eudocia's voice remains level. "We've sheltered Omegas before," she continues. "Common ones, lost ones, even a few who ran from cruel alphas, but you're rarer." I say nothing, because saying it aloud feels like handing them a leash. Vesperian's voice cuts in, calm. "She doesn't owe you that." Eudocia's gaze flicks to him. "She owes the settlement safety," she replies. "If her presence draws war, we need to plan." My throat tightens. The old shame rises, familiar and poisonous. I am a burden, I bring trouble. I should disappear to make others safe. I force it down, swallowing hard. "I don't want your people to die for me," I say, voice rough. Eudocia studies me for a long moment. Then she looks at Vesperian. "And what do you want?" she asks him. Vesperian's gaze doesn't waver. "I want her alive," he says. "I want her to have a place where her choices matter." Eudocia's mouth tightens as if she's resisting the urge to roll her eyes. "Beautiful, but choices don't stop blades." Mailer clears his throat. "No," he says quietly, "but they stop certain kinds of rot." Eudocia glances at him, then back to me. "Your old alpha yielded in blood right," she says. "He'll lick his wounds and return with allies, perhaps not tomorrow, but soon. And when he does, he'll try again through force or through law." My stomach clenches. "What law?" I whisper. Eudocia's eyes sharpen. "The kind that treats you like a title, like a resource, like a womb with legs." The bluntness makes my skin prickle. Vesperian's scent shifts, a darkening in the air. He doesn't growl, he doesn't threaten. His restraint is absolute, and it makes the room feel smaller. Eudocia raises a hand. "Control yourself," she says to him, not afraid. Vesperian's jaw flexes, but he nods once, a curt acknowledgement. Eudocia turns back to me. "There is one answer that ends his claim in a way even ambitious packs hesitate to challenge," she says. "But it has to be your choice." My pulse kicks. I already know what she means, and dread coils in my belly. A mark, a bond, a permanent claim. Eudocia's voice remains steady, almost gentle now. "If you accept Vesperian's mark willingly, publicly, with witnesses, it becomes more than a personal bond. It becomes political. It names you as Luna of this territory. Challenging you becomes challenging the settlement itself." My mouth goes dry. "Luna," I repeat. Corrine's gaze sharpens at the word, a flash of something complicated, respect, envy, protectiveness, I can't tell. Eudosha watches my face carefully. It would make you safer, she says, and it would bind you to his rule. You would not be property, but you would be central. Central, visible, targeted. My hands curl in my lap. And if I do, I ask. Eudosha shrugs, not unkindly. Then we continue as we are. Vesperian stands between you and every wolf who wants what you carry. He can fight. He can negotiate. He can bleed. But he can't make the world forget your scent. Silence stretches. I stare at the table's scarred wood and feel the weight of choice settle fully onto my shoulders. It's terrifying because choice means responsibility. No more hiding behind pack decisions. No more pretending I'm only surviving. I look up at Vesperian. His gaze meets mine, steady, and there's no triumph in it, no expectation. Just a quiet, brutal honesty. He would do it if I asked. He would not if I didn't. My throat burns. If I accept, will you let me speak? I ask him. Will you let me have a voice in your council, in your laws? Vesperian's eyes narrow slightly, as if he's surprised the question is even necessary. Yes, he says. Eudosha snorts softly. He says yes now. Vesperian doesn't look away from me. I will say yes later, too, he replies, and there's an edge in his tone that dares anyone to doubt it. My breath catches. The room is too warm, too full of eyes. I swallow, then ask the thing that has been cutting through me since the fight ring. And if your instincts turn, I whisper. If one day you wake up and you want to own what you've protected. A flicker crosses Vesperian's face, something like pain, quick and controlled. He exhales slowly, as if choosing each word with care. Then you will remind me who I chose to be, he says. And if I can't listen, you will leave, because a mark made with consent can be broken by consent. Eudosha's eyebrows lift slightly at that, as if even she didn't expect him to say it. My chest tightens so hard it hurts, because I believe him, not because he's perfect, because he has been consistent, because his restraint is not performance, it's practice. I glance at Mailer, and he gives me the smallest nod, solemn and steady. Kareen watches me with flint eyes, but there's something like approval in the set of her mouth. Eudosha folds her hands. We can prepare a public rite, she says, if that is what you want, and we can choose the place. The place. My old pack flashes through my mind, faces turned away, boots crunching down the slope, Aurelian's hand making the severance sign like he was sealing a letter. A cold clarity settles in my bones. If I do this, I will not do it hidden. I will do it where they can see. I lift my chin. I want it done before witnesses, I say, voice steadier now, and I want my old pack there. The room goes still. Eudosha's eyes sharpen. That is dangerous. Yes, I agree, but I'm tired of being hunted in the dark. I want the ending in daylight. Vesperian's gaze holds mine, and in it I see something like pride, quiet, restrained, fierce. All right, he says. We'll call them. It takes 3 days. 3 days of preparation, of messengers sent like arrows through the snow, of old rules dusted off and polished for use. I spend those days healing, eating, sleeping in a real bed for the first time in what feels like a lifetime. The settlement gives me a small room near the longhouse hearth, warm enough that my joints stop aching for a few precious hours at a time. And yet, I don't relax. Every time the door opens, my body braces. Every time footsteps approach, my scent tightens, controlled by sheer will. Vesperian visits once each day, always at the same time, always knocking before entering as if even the smallest boundary matters. He brings me food, news, sometimes nothing but his presence and a silence that doesn't demand performance. On the second day, he sets a small carved pendant on my table, dark wood shaped into a crescent moon. A symbol, he says, voice low, if you want it. I pick it up, feeling the smooth curve. If I wear this, I whisper, it becomes real. It is real, he replies. Wearing it just tells others to stop pretending it is. My throat tightens. I close my fingers around it. On the third night, Mailer comes to my door with a bundle of white fabric. "What is that?" I ask, though I already know. "A cloak," he says, "for the right." My hands tremble as I touch the fabric. White, but not the fragile white of fresh snow. A warmer white, like bone, like moonlight on wool. It feels heavy, protective. Mailer watches me with a gaze that is older than his face. "Your mother would have wanted you to stand," he says quietly. My breath catches. "You knew her." Mailer's mouth tightens, a flash of grief. "I knew what she tried to protect," he says, "and there's something unspoken in it that I don't pry open, because tonight is not for old wounds. Tonight is for the scar I'm turning into armor." The right is held at the border clearing where the duel happened, because the law's like symmetry. Torches ring the open space again, flames bright in daylight, their smoke curling into the pale sky. Snow lies packed hard under many boots. Two groups stand opposite each other, separated by a strip of trampled white like a river of tension. Vesperian's settlement has come in force, not an army, but a statement. Men and women with bows slung over shoulders, wolves at their heels, council members in heavy cloaks, children held back behind palisade guards so they can witness from safety. My old pack arrives in a tighter formation, bristling with the need to reclaim dignity. Aurelian walks at their front, his face healed enough that only a faint bruise shadows his cheekbone, but his eyes are fever bright. He looks at me like I'm the last piece of a game he refuses to lose. I stand beside Vesperian at the center of the clearing, the white cloak around my shoulders, the crescent pendant at my throat. The collar is gone. I don't need it anymore. My scent is mine, controlled but not hidden. Eudocia and Mailer stand as witnesses, flanked by two others from each side. Karine stands slightly behind me, close enough that if someone lunges, she'll be in their throat before they reach mine. Aurelian's gaze flicks to the pendant, and his lip curls. He takes one step forward, stopping at the line of trampled snow. "So this is what you've chosen," he calls, voice carrying, "to be marked by an enemy." I lift my chin. The fear is there, but it has changed shape. It is no longer a leash. It is a blade I know how to hold. "I chose to live," I reply. Aurelian laughs sharp. "You could have lived with us." "With you," I correct, and the word tastes like bile. "Under your forgiveness, your conditions, your threats." Aurelian's smile fades. "You're making yourself important," he snarls. "You're not Luna material." Eudocia's voice cuts across the clearing, cold and clear. "She becomes Luna if she accepts the mark willingly and speaks her consent under witness. That is the law." Aurelian's eyes flash. "Your law," he spits. Mailer's gaze is steady. "Old law," he corrects. "Older than your pride." The pack murmurs behind Aurelian, unsettled by the steady opposition, by the number of witnesses, by the way the rules are being spoken out loud where everyone can hear. Aurelian's gaze locks on Vesperian. "If she takes your mark, she becomes a target," he says, voice cruel. "Every pack will come." Vesperian's expression doesn't change. "Let them," he replies. Aurelian's gaze snaps back to me, and his voice softens, coaxing, almost intimate. "Usebao," he says, as if he can still pull strings inside me. "You don't know what you're doing. Omega's like you don't survive without a strong alpha." I meet his eyes. "I'm standing," I say. "I survived you." Something in Aurelian's face twists and his voice sharpens. "Then prove you're not a puppet. Refuse him." My heart hammers. This is the trap. If I refuse, I remain unmarked prey. If I accept, he calls me owned. But my choice isn't between freedom and bondage the way Aurelian frames it. My choice is between being hunted alone and building a life in the open, with my voice intact. I turn toward Vesperian. He watches me, still patient, as if time itself has learned to wait for my answer. I step closer until I can smell him clearly: smoke, pine, slate, and beneath it something that has become familiar enough to feel like safety without becoming a cage. Eudocia's voice rises. "State your consent." My throat is dry. Every eye is on me. I think of the snow in my mouth. I think of my blood darkening the drift. I think of Aurelian's hand making the severance sign. I think of Vesperian asking, "Do you want me to refuse?" I draw a breath, letting it fill my ribs fully, and speak. "I bow," I say, loud enough that the trees hear, "accept Vesperian's mark willingly, not as property, not as a prize, as my chosen protection, my chosen bond, and my chosen life." A murmur ripples through both packs, a sound like wind through dead leaves. Eudocia nods once. "Proceed." Vesperian's gaze searches mine one last time, silent question in the steadiness of him. I answer by lifting my hair off my neck with trembling fingers, baring the skin just below my ear where the mark will sit. My pulse flutters there, a small, exposed truth. Aurelian makes a sound, half snarl, half laugh, like watching someone light his old house on fire. Vesperian steps closer. His hand rises, but he doesn't touch until I nod, small and sure. Then his fingers brush my jaw, warm, careful, anchoring. His breath ghosts over my skin, and my body reacts with a shiver that is equal parts instinct and relief. The bite is sharp, quick, and controlled. Pain flashes, then fades into a deep, spreading heat that sinks under my skin and settles into my bones like a new gravity. The world tilts for a moment, not dizzying but profound, as if a door has closed behind me and another has opened ahead. I gasp, hands gripping his forearm, not to stop him, but to hold myself steady. Vesperian's mouth lingers for a heartbeat longer than necessary, a silent promise, then he pulls back. The air changes. I feel it immediately, a thread inside my chest, not the torn phantom of Aurelian, but something new, heavy, and alive. It doesn't yank. It doesn't choke. It settles. It connects. Vesperian's scent deepens around me, wrapping not as a net, but as a shield. Eudocia's voice rings out. The mark is given. The consent is witnessed. Bow is Luna by law of bond and protection. A sound rises from Vesperian's settlement, approval, relief, a kind of fierce joy that makes my throat tight. My old pack's response is fractured. Some look away. Some stare at me like I've become something they can't categorize. A few look at Aurelian, uncertain, as if waiting for him to reassert control. Aurelian's face is pale with fury. He steps forward to the line again, eyes burning. "You think this ends it," he says, voice shaking with rage he can't hide. "You think you're safe because he put teeth on you." I touch the fresh mark lightly, feeling the tenderness, the heat, the reality. I look at Aurelian and let my voice carry, calm now, because the choice has already been made. "I think I'm done being your story," I say. "Go home." Aurelian's lip curls. "You were nothing without me." The words used to destroy me. Now they feel like wind, loud and empty. I lean slightly into Vesperian's side, not because I need to hide, but because I want the world to see what I chose without shame. "I was dying without you," I correct. "That's not the same." Aurelian's eyes flick to the mark again, to the way my scent has settled into something steadier, anchored. His face tightens as if he's swallowing poison. He looks around at the witnesses, at the council, at the ring of torches, at the settlement's archers on the ridge. He understands, finally, that there is no clean way to take me now without starting a war he might not win, and even if he did, he would be remembered as the alpha who attacked a bonded Luna under witness. He has always cared about memory. Aurelian's expression shifts into something brittle and cold. He gives a short, sharp gesture to his pack. They withdraw. This time, more of them look back as they go, not at him, but at me. Confusion. Doubt. something like shame beginning to sprout where obedience used to sit. Aurelian walks away without another word, shoulders stiff, pride holding him upright like a crutch. When the last of them disappears into the trees, my knees threaten to fold. The delayed tremor hits me, adrenaline draining, the enormity of what I just did crashing down. My breath comes out shaky. Vesperian's hand slides to the small of my back, steadying without pulling. "You did well," he says quietly. I swallow hard, eyes stinging. I feel like I'm going to fall apart. "You can," he replies, voice low. "You don't have to hold the shape they forced on you anymore." That's what breaks me. A sound escapes my throat, half laugh, half sob, and I press my forehead briefly against his shoulder, breathing him in, letting my body believe in warmth that doesn't cost me dignity. Around us, the settlement begins to move, voices rising, people exhaling, the world restarting. Eudocia approaches, her expression still sharp, but there's something like approval in it now. "Luna," she says, testing the word, "we will speak later about what you want your role to be. Not what Vesperian wants. What I want." I nod, throat too tight for speech. Karine steps close and murmurs, so only I hear, "Welcome to the trouble." I huff a weak laugh. It seems to follow me. "It follows power," Karine replies, eyes glinting. "Try not to waste it." Mailer appears at my side, gaze flicking to my new mark with a healer's practicality. "Keep it clean," he mutters, gruff as ever. Then, quieter, "Your mother would be proud." My breath catches. I blink hard and nod, because if I speak, I'll shatter again. Vesperian turns with me toward the path back to the settlement. The sun is lowering, gilding the snow in amber light. Smoke rises from chimneys in the valley like steady breath. As we walk, I feel the bond settle more firmly, not a chain, but a shared rhythm. Vesperian doesn't drag me. He matches my pace instinctively, slowing when my leg protests, angling his body so the wind hits him first. Protection enacted, not promised. At the crest of the ridge, I pause and look back at the clearing. The torches are still burning, small points of flame against the white. Footprints crisscross the snow like evidence of a story that could have ended differently. Vesperian waits beside me silent. I touch my mark again, feeling the ache, the heat, the reality of it. "Will it always feel like this?" I ask, voice rough. Vesperian's gaze turns to me, and there's something unexpectedly gentle in it. "It will change," he says. "It will become familiar, and if you ever want space inside it, you say so." I swallow, emotions swelling too big for my ribs. "I don't know how to be Luna," I admit. Vesperian's mouth curves, not quite a smile, but something warmer. "Then we'll learn," he says, "together. And if anyone forgets you have teeth, I'll remind them." I let out a breath that feels like the first real one in weeks. We start down the ridge toward the valley, toward warmth and walls and a life that might finally be mine. The snow crunches under our boots in a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to fear anymore. Thank you so much for listening to the very end. I truly appreciate your time and support. Now I want your honest take. Do you think Usebao was right to accept Vesperian's mark publicly and become Luna? Or did she trade one kind of danger for another? Tell me in the comments, would you have chosen the mark, yes or no, and why?